Are you ready?
Yep, we're ready to
So
go.
I will call to order the special meeting of the Oregon City Commission for March 5th, 2019. Call a roll, please.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Frank O'Donnell.
Here.
Commissioner Rachel L. Smith. Here. Mayor Holliday.
Here. So under general business 19-175, we're doing interviews for city commission position number 2. You want to bring in Ms. Thompson?
Yes, I was hoping we could just have a quick discussion. I just wanted to let you know what was in your packets. Hi. I just wanted to let you know what was in your packets before we got started, and then if you had any questions before we started, we could go ahead with that as well. So first, you have dividers. You have a schedule in the front. You have dividers with each of the applicants' applications and resumes. And then right after that are the questions for each applicant. And the questions we originally provided were 7 questions, and then we had a few submittals after that. So you'll see questions 7 and 8 on your sheets are new questions. I'll give you a minute to get there because I'm not sure you're. So just make sure that, I wasn't sure if you wanted to ask all 9 questions or if you wanted to try to limit it back down to 7 or how you wanted to proceed with the questions.
I'm fine with all 9.
Sure.
20 minutes.
So 20 minutes is not a lot of time. Have they been told they have 20 minutes?
We did tell them there are 20-minute interviews, yes.
Okay. Have they been given the questions?
They have not.
Okay.
Although
Generally speaking, it doesn't take as long as you might think.
this is being broadcast, so this is live, being broadcast on cable TV and on the internet. And we are recording it. So these are live. It's open to
Doesn't that give the other candidates a distinct advantage if they're watching?
It does.
Are we allowing the other candidates to watch outside?
I don't have it turned on, no. Would you like me to turn it on?
Well, I would prefer that we not broadcast it.
Okay, I can go in the back and let them know to turn the broadcasting off, but it's still streaming live on the internet.
Well,
It's a public meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, they could actually come in.
Why don't we allow them to come in and sit down then instead of being advised to sit in the lobby?
They can come in and sit
If the
down.
people for tomorrow night can listen to the live stream or watch the
Yeah.
live stream for tonight,
Yeah,
it should be
yeah.
fair to
Okay.
all of them.
prior to this, we had recorded the meeting and played it later, but not broadcast it live. When we've done other interviews where it took more than a day.
I'm fine with broadcasting it live, inviting the other participants in to sit through the interviews. And the same for the people tomorrow night. If they want to watch it at home, sitting there tonight, that's fine. I mean, the process is what it is.
Okay,
All right.
and then as far as the questions, you're good with all 9 questions?
The one thing I would point out, 5 and 6 are kind of similar. If you're looking to narrow it down a little bit, I think 5 and 6 are similar, and you probably pick that up through the questions you're asking beforehand.
Oh, yeah,
I'd agree with that.
they are.
You know, you could
Use one or the other.
get one or the other. 4, was one that, potentially could drop if you so decided.
I would like, if we're picking one, I just assume you use number 5 instead of 6.
I'm fine with that.
So we're scratching 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the only thing number 4, I think, just in that question, it's probably sometimes make instead of made. Sometimes makes unpopular decisions rather than sometimes made. So whoever gets the order of reading that one, just might want to mark that.
In terms of order of reading what questions, I think the questions that were submitted by individual commissioners should be asked by those commissioners.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
Sure,
Because I don't want to read that one.
7 and 8, I believe, are the question numbers.
Yeah.
7's mine.
And 8 is mine.
Okay. So do we need to go through the rest?
Could we just go however you guys want to do it, whether 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just in order, and then they pick it up.
Yeah, that's fine.
that's fine.
We'll just
That's
start
fine.
to my left and
Didn't
move
know
on.
that those two were gonna be asked by those two folks.
Okay.
Okay, so are we ready now?
Sorry, one more thing. So I just wanted to mention there's a matrix in the front of your binder. You can use that if you choose or not. It's just in there as a tool. And basically you would just start with putting the first applicant in the very first box. And then after you have the second candidate, then you would decide, you know, if you want the first one to be at the top of your choice and the second one to be a second choice, or however you want to do that. And you can move them so on and so forth till you get all the way down to 8 candidates. Anything that you write down or take notes on, you need to leave with me, and we'll be submitting that for the record. So any notes you take using the matrix, anything like that. In the very back of your binder are just some blank sheets of paper if you need additional sheets to write on. And that is it, unless there's any questions before we get started. I'll go ahead and ask everyone to step into the room.
I have one more question. Are we only sticking to these questions, or are we asking follow-up questions or anything like that?
You can ask whatever you want.
Right, I mean, we were trying to identify questions that, you know, knowing the time constraints that we had. I
Right, I'm
don't
just
think there's-
clarifying.
Yeah, I don't think I think every
Corollary
commissioner can
questions.
ask whatever
There
clarifying
is-
question they'd like.
This is not an HR situation, so we're allowed to ask pretty much whatever you want, minus the, you know, the obvious no-nos.
A corollary question or follow-up question is allowable.
Yeah,
Clarification. Yep.
go ahead.
Hello. Hi. Am I asking the
No, I'm just waiting a second.
waiting on Katie?
Okay. So if you'll give us your name and I'll just start out with the first one. Tell us about yourself and some of your community activities, your experience with local government and community service, and why you wish to serve.
Okay, well, my name is Chelsea Thompson. I have been serving the community now for 8 years at MC Thrift Store and Outreach. I am one of the owners that started it. We help people struggling with addiction into recovery. I work with the people in just grassroots. I have a passion for our community, so that's why I'm here tonight. This last year was a great year for us. We received the Clackamas County Impact Award, so thank you. We also were invited onto the news stations a couple times. We also had an interview and a write-up on us, with the Portland Interview magazine. And we had some really great fundraisers. So this next year, I decided that I'd like to get involved with the government because of serving now the grassroots level. I'd like to make a larger impact, as well as serving you, Mr. Holliday, as well as everybody else on the committee to help build our community. I think I'd be a great candidate because to know what the community needs, you need somebody on the bottom. And that's why I think I'm a great voice for that.
Okay, Rachel?
Okay, what do you see as the 3 most important issues facing Oregon City over the next 2 to 3 years? And do you have any suggestions for how the city could meet or overcome these challenges or opportunities?
Well, I think Oregon City has a lot of potential. I think that Oregon City could grow if larger companies came in to stimulate more jobs. I also think coming together with small businesses is essential, especially on Main Street, especially just up and down Malala. Getting different practitioners in the buildings. What was the ending of the question? I'm sorry.
Do you have any suggestions for how the city could meet or overcome these challenges or opportunities?
Okay. And one issue, and it's not an issue necessarily, but, you know, just helping the homeless, you know, that we're right on Malala Avenue, so I continue on to do that work. We can continue to get our resources out there to help people. If you continue to help clean up the streets, then people are going to get into those job fronts to want to put their businesses in there. So to clean up the streets, though, you have to create relationships. So we're active in doing that. Once again, you're then getting those small businesses in there. It stimulates the economy. It helps things grow. It goes from there.
Mr. O'Donnell?
So I will ask you a question that was asked of candidates in the candidate forums for election when I ran.
Okay.
So the question is.
Hang on, Frank. So for anybody else in the audience, if you haven't turned your cell phone off, please do so now.
I may be guilty.
Thank you.
My question is, in the event that you are the successful candidate, what have you done to educate yourself to the critical issues facing this city and prepare yourself for the duties of the commissioner position?
Honestly, I sit here today humbly, and I can tell you I'm probably not the most qualified candidate when it comes to education. But I know that I also am I can be most qualified in the sense that I'm a great listener, and I will serve each and every one of you and work together. I also, because I have been working on grassroots just with the community for a while now, I have gained a lot of education that a lot of people don't get in a school form. And with being passionate about what I do, I'm also very level-headed, and so I can, I can see things as businesses also. So, does that answer your question a little?
A little. There's critical issues in the community such as development, growth, transportation. Have you done any background on that?
Yes, well, with the development, are you more so speaking about bringing an expansion of housing?
Yes.
Or, so it's a tough situation. So if you want to continue to build out, in the sense if you were to bring a larger business here, and if you want to build out, I personally just bought a home. There's not a lot in Oregon City. So it would be nice, but at the same time, I mean, that brings its own difficulties. So it's kind of this, there's a balance to it. It's, I guess, sitting down and listening to what is everyone's vision and knowing then collectively what everyone's vision is for the city, then aiming towards that. And you tell me a vision and then I'll attack it with you. But I'm a super positive person. So I'm gonna find the good in anything. So whatever.
All right, thank you.
All right, I assume I'm in number
Let's
three.
go back to number three, yes.
And you kind of talked about this a little bit. What is your view? What is your view of the overall economic health of Oregon City? And what do you think we as a city can do to promote economic development, business development, and including assistance to existing businesses?
Well, being a small business ourselves, I honestly think everyone's doing a great job. It comes back to the homelessness. It's very hard to, and I believe a lot of people that are small business owners can say this on Main Street. It is very hard to be able to have somebody come into your business if they're homeless, you know? It's something that we're not ever better than homeless. We could be homeless any day. So it's finding compassion there, creating that relationship, getting out there. But also coming beside each business owner, reaching out to them, checking in with them, seeing personally what do they need in their own business. I know you can't ever have enough help. So, but it's very hard to hire more people on. So I think economically, probably financially giving small businesses a break to be able to hire more people, then that stimulates things more. I think there's so many different routes. Once again, it comes back to the vision,
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
Okay. How would you address the fact that the city commission sometimes makes unpopular decisions? And how would you relate to individuals whose opinion differs significantly from your own?
I think this is great. So I'm gonna just come back to our store. We're just a safe place in the community. And a lot of people, I feel like sometimes we're just like a counseling room that people come and talk. And I've had one incident come up to mind, and there was a Republican and a Democrat that started talking in our store, and I was like, oh my, this is very uncomfortable. And coming from someone that's like, let's keep the peace, like let's find good things in each of us, I was able to just gently kind of intervene and be like, you know, we each have a heart. We each have 5 fingers on each hand. And let's not forget that when we communicate. Let's always find something that we like about that other person, because ultimately it doesn't matter if there is something past that you agree with or don't agree with. You have to learn some sort of community relationships, because at the end of the day, we're all holding hands. So I always come back to that as just super peaceful approach, and it usually calms the water. So I'd fade out.
Okay, so have you ever individually, as a member of an organization or as a representative of a neighborhood association, sued the city of Oregon City or the Oregon City Urban Renewal Agency?
I have not.
Okay. Commissioner O'Donnell, question 5.
So what are the strengths that you would bring to this city commission?
Well, I had mentioned I'm a great networker. I can make relationships with absolutely anyone, and I think that's essential. I also believe I'm a great communicator because I can listen and I can actually understand what someone's trying to get to and understand their intentions without drawing offense. Once again, working with people hands-on in our community, we've helped hundreds and hundreds of people. I think that's something that's definitely essential to bring to the table because I care about people. I think I'm smart. I think when it comes to business and the big picture, I'm a bit driven, and I can work with people to get to create whatever the vision is. I'm an awesome problem solver. I don't see when people always tell me, well, you can't do this or you can't do that. You know, you don't know unless you try. And there's always a way. You know, it's our own blockage in our mind that says we can't. So if there is something that, you know, you guys wanted to develop or, you know, do or whatnot, I think there's always a way to get through it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith, you got question 9.
Okay, there's 2 parts to this. The first one is there anything else that you would like to tell us about yourself? And then the last part is, do you have any questions for us?
Well, this is what you get. I just want to thank you guys for this opportunity. I really do hope and pray to serve with each and every one of you. I may be young, but I think that is a great incentive because I'm teachable and you can put all your wisdom in me as I continue to grow. And I think there's nothing better than someone who has been serving the past 8 years. For 5 years, I did it voluntarily. I just recently was paid on by our family, even though we started it. And my family doesn't even take anything from it. So I genuinely have a heart to serve our community, or I wouldn't be here today.
Thank you. Any questions for us?
I do not.
Okay.
Thank you so much, though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Okay, next up is Lisa Novak. So once again, tell us a little about yourself and some of your community activities, your experience with local government and community service, and why you wish to serve.
All right, very good. First of all, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Lisa Novak. I live in the Park Place neighborhood of Oregon City. My experience, my volunteer and city experience has been serving as the secretary for the Park Place Neighborhood Association, the secretary for the Oregon City Parks Foundation, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, which I've just been elected as chair. Also a member of the Enhancement Grant Committee, as well as some other miscellaneous committees, such as the McLaughlin-Kanema Trail Plan and the Riverwalk Transportation and Access Planning. So I have previously have over 25 years of experience in the business world, specifically in engineering and manufacturing, working on projects, budgets. I have, the majority of that time has been spent with companies, large and small, more specifically in the oil, gas, telecommunications, and utility sectors. I currently work for a small company here in Oregon City, so I understand the struggles and challenges and rewards that small companies go through. We do historical renovation.
Okay. Rachel.
What do you see as the three most important issues facing Oregon City over the next 2 to 3 years? And do you have any suggestions for how the city could meet or overcome these challenges or opportunities?
Yes. Item 1, funding for the repair and new infrastructure that's going to be necessary for our future growth. Secondly, the future of the courthouse and the potential loss of business for the restaurants and merchants. 3, the Falls Legacy Project. And in mentioning that, I think that that is a core for us to move forward. I think that we need to move forward with a plan for business development in that area. And I think that that will help us with the funding and the investment that we need to move forward with these needs, the infrastructure needs.
Okay. Commissioner O'Donnell?
So what is your view of the overall economic health of Oregon City? And what do you think we, as a city, can do to promote economic development and overall business development, including assistance to existing businesses?
Well, I have to commend the city. I've read the annual report. We're doing pretty good. So thank you, everyone who was involved with that. I think to develop business, it all goes back to the Cove, or I'm sorry, the Willamette Falls project, as well as the Cove being part of the Urban Renewal Plan and Economic Development Center. I think we need to attract businesses, and what I would like to see is a self-sustaining economy beyond manufacturing, because manufacturing can be fickle. I was in that world for so long, and still am to a certain degree. I think we need more than that. We need a diverse economy, and we also need an export. What it is, I'm not certain yet. Open to ideas and suggestions. I kind of think IT, and I also like the tourism. These are low-impact industries, and I think that they would help us move along the future of the city.
Commissioner Smith?
How would you address the fact that the city commission sometimes makes unpopular decisions? And how would you relate to individuals whose opinion differs from your own?
Simply put, it's leadership. It's listening, understanding different perspectives. I think at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We all want good jobs or a good retirement. We want health, we want family. We all have something in common. But it's listening to other individuals, finding common ground, building on that, and taking advantage of that momentum to move forward.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
What are the strengths you would bring to the city commission?
My business experience. I have been a job seeker, and I have been a job provider. I have been in some very difficult meetings where consequences were being discussed that would have far-reaching impact to many people and to various stakeholders, not just customers, but vendors as well. So I have that experience. I've been on both sides of the coin and still am.
Okay. Have you ever individually, as a member of an organization or as a representative of a neighborhood association, sued the city of Oregon City or the Oregon City Urban Renewal Agency?
No.
Okay. Commissioner O'Donnell.
So in the event that you are the successful candidate, what have you done to educate yourself to the critical issues facing the city and prepare yourself for the duties of the commissioner position?
I wanted to gain a deeper understanding of the government itself. So I've reviewed the strategic initiatives that we've put forth, specifically the economic corridors that we've identified, Beaver Creek, and I'm very interested in that, the Beaver Creek plan for manufacturing. And I'd like to see some IT or some diversification in there. I think that that's important. I have also gone and I have interviewed other small business owners within the city. I wanted to hear about their challenges, and I have a laundry list of challenges. And I'd like to pursue that further to really gain an understanding, businesses outside of what I'm familiar with. And that would be the retail, the merchants, the restaurants.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Smith.
Sorry, I was writing notes. I went back. Thank you. We're already at the last one.
Yep.
Is there anything else that you would like to tell us about yourself? And is there any questions that you have of us?
My business experience, I can't emphasize that enough. I understand utilities, I understand manufacturing, I understand construction, I understand historic renovation. My question to you, should the Falls Legacy Project be in the Urban Renewal District? Just a question.
No.
It's a big question.
No? Can you tell me why, please?
At least in my opinion, urban renewal money can't go to the legacy project itself, to the Riverwalk, because it doesn't provide any tax increment.
It's probably, yeah.
And on the other side, I think there's plenty of economic opportunity on the private sector side without having to have urban renewal money included in that. I think there's the economic potential there is so great that there really isn't any reason to include the project site in the urban renewal
All right, thank you.
agency.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So, where do you stand on urban renewal? Are you supportive of that program, or think it should go away, or?
I am supportive of the program. Here's why. Jobs. We need that. Putting on my job seeker hat, in the past, there are so many jobs available on the west side and the north side, Vancouver. We need jobs right here. So I am supportive of that. I understand that we need to spend money to make money. I get that. So I am supportive of it.
Commissioner Smith.
Do you have any recommendations on how to move forward with the public if we continue to keep the urban renewal district open?
Outreach, and I would be more than happy to meet one-on-one, knock on doors, support this. It's a very important objective.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Told you.
You were right.
Mr. Van Haverbeek, if you would be so kind as to come forward. Yes, we are. Commissioner Smith.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
Okay.
All right. Tell us about yourself and some of your community activities, your experience with local government, community service, and where you wish to serve, and why you wish to serve.
So I'm Steve Van Haverbeek. I've been a resident of Oregon City for 19 years, primarily in the Park Place neighborhood. For 15 years, I've been part of the Park Place Neighborhood Association and have served as chair, vice chair, land use chair, representative to the CIC. So other than that, I've been on the Urban Renewal Commission for the last 4 years. And I'm currently the vice chair of the CIC and Urban Renewal. And let's see, why I wish to serve.
Yes.
I think it's important for all citizens to be involved with helping to make the city better. And that's the part that I would like to play.
Thank you.
What do you see as the 3 most important issues facing Oregon City over the next 2 to 3 years? And do you have any suggestions for how the city could meet or overcome these challenges or opportunities?
So I think the most important is probably get the Beaver Creek concept plan area up and running, get the development started there. Also to resolve any issues that there are with any of the other annexations and the concept plan areas, both South End and Park Place. It would be good to finally start making serious headway on the the Falls Legacy project. And other than that, don't see issues that need to be overcome at this time.
Okay, Commissioner O'Donnell?
So what is your view of the overall economic health of Oregon City? And what do you think that we as a city can do to promote economic development and overall business development, including assistance to existing businesses?
So the 2 areas where we can do something, one is we have the enterprise zone, we have the Beaver Creek concept plan area, and we've got the urban renewal district. So all 3 of those can be used to help new and existing businesses to thrive and make headway. The overall economic health of the city appears to be quite good. We've got excellent ratings for our bonds and are managing our money very, very wisely.
And your thoughts on promoting or providing assistance to existing businesses?
So both the enterprise zone and urban renewal can be used in that way.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner R. Smith? Oh, that doesn't even work. Jeez, you guys are, anyway.
You could just do it.
Okay.
It's just Commissioner Rocky would be fine.
I can't do that.
I know you can't.
It's Rachel, your turn, not you, Rocky.
Oh, see, it's both ours. That's why
I'm confused, yeah.
Okay. How would you address the fact that the city commission sometimes makes unpopular decisions? And how would you relate to individuals whose opinion differs significantly from your own?
Well, it seems that when unpopular decisions are made by the city commission, probably the next round of elections will resolve that issue to the whim of the public. So, but unpopular decisions are going to be made. We have people that take strong issues on both sides, and it's going to be necessary. We're going to make somebody unhappy, and it just happens. The best way to handle that is try and see both sides and try and discuss the issues as calmly as possible.
So I'll go next. Have you ever individually, as a member of an organization or as a representative of a neighborhood association, sued the City of Oregon City or the Oregon City Urban Renewal Agency?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Rocky?
What are the strengths that you would bring to the city commission?
For 40 years, I was an analyst, paid to analyze, to make decisions based on information that needs to be gathered. I think I was very good at that. And as I have an open mind, and I'm willing to see what other people have to think.
Okay. Commissioner O'Donnell?
So, sir, in the event that you are the successful candidate, what have you done to educate yourself to the critical issues facing the city and to prepare yourself for the duties of the commissioner position?
So I keep myself informed as to what's going on at the City Commission. I review all of the commission meetings that I'm not attending, review the documents. I'm involved with the CIC to learn more through what's being shared there by the city. So I try and stay on top of everything that is going on through the city government.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lyles Smith?
Is there anything else you would like to tell us about yourself? And do you have any questions for us?
I think that my statements and have said what I need to say. No, I don't have any questions. I've talked to all of you.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
I'm going to take over for a second, Frank. I have to.
We should probably just pause.
Go ahead, it's fine.
Can wait.
We can proceed with Mr. Guile if you'd like, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay?
I'm pretty sure I got Tom's opening statement anyway.
I'm against everything.
Mr. Guile, front and center.
Wait.
Huh? He was for
Immediately after the
7:05.
break.
We were gonna
So
do
we've got
dinner.
20 minutes.
Let's wait.
We've got our time frame.
I think we should
I
wait.
think we should wait.
Would you prefer to wait? Okay.
We can.
I'll tell you one thing while we're waiting. I've learned,
That's 3 votes to wait, so you have
I've
to
learned one good
deal with
thing
it.
sitting here. It's not so much as you learn the questions ahead of time after
Tom,
somebody
you
else.
probably shouldn't talk because then you
Oh,
would
no.
be given more time than anyone else.
I'm just
so-
gonna
Yeah.
tell you, it's hard when you're sitting there because now you think everybody said what you wanted to say. That's a completely different thought.
Welcome to the floor.
Okay,
Well,
Mr.
you have
Guile,
a
thanks
few
for
minutes
showing
to,
up.
yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Where the interviews were given times, so it's possible that some may not show up
Until their actual,
until
yeah.
their time.
I'll take
for
all
that.
night then.
I mean,
When we're done with this and we take our dinner break, I will go ahead and call both Mr. Edgar and Mr. Pierce and make sure that they come early. Yeah.
yeah.
I'll just go right upstairs and do it. I just want to make sure we get this done. I'll click the.
Okay.
he waiting for me?
Yes, consensus was to keep full commission.
My time's already out.
All right. Who wants to go first? Commissioner Loud-Smith, go ahead.
I'm Tom Guile from Oregon City.
All right, Tom Goff from Oregon City. Tell us about yourself and some of your community activities, your experience with local government and community service, and why you wish to serve.
Okay. You all have my resume. It pretty much tells you everything, but
That's
to
my line.
kind of repeat it for the general public. I've been chair of the CIC I was chair of the CIC for 3 terms, 6 years on the Planning Commission, been on the Park Place Neighborhood Association for as long as I've lived in Oregon City, 16 years. I've been every office that there is in that position, chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, you name it, I've done it all. Beyond that, obviously, as everyone knows, I'm kind of a skilled person. My background and knowledge is communications, so I'm sometimes heavily involved in social media, but also I like getting the word out. So when I worked for US Bank for 10 years, I represented them at national conventions in New York, selling their products that we had training products that no other bank was doing. And we had our own television studio and we recorded our own. I also represented Fred Meyer. I was there for 10 years. I was the corporate newsletter editor and traveled around to all the various states that Fred Meyer had stores in, including Utah, Montana, Idaho, Washington, California, et cetera. And so a lot of communication skills when working with the general public, as well as what I've done here in Oregon City.
Okay. Commissioner O'Donnell?
I didn't answer the part why I wish to serve. Is that important to you here?
Yeah, a little bit.
I just looked down there. So, that was part of that question. I want to serve because I never had planned on you've all heard me say it, on running for a commission position. I was satisfied with some of the things I've been doing, but when this position opened up, I thought, what a great way to serve my last 2 years instead of being on the Planning Commission is to go on the City Commission, because I believe I have a lot to add by listening to the public. On the Planning Commission, when we've been there, there's been several times that I will repeat information because I know there's public watching on television and there's a lot of people in the public who don't understand. And I think we really need to, when we make decisions, communicate it, that we're following code and we're following what's there. Because a lot of people don't understand the decisions we make, whether it be Planning Commission or City Commission.
So with that said, would you intend to run for election if you were to make this appointment?
I don't intend to, not unless you all begged me.
Okay.
But I'm kidding. But no, I don't intend to. I never had, but I'd like to do something as it could be my finale here on serving on the City Commission, or it may be a step that some of you may encourage me to go forward with.
Okay, Commissioner Smith?
Which one? Oh.
I figured
think
this out.
me. So I'm Commissioner Smith then?
And she's Commissioner Loud-Smith.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so
What do you see as the 3 most important issues facing Oregon City over the next 2 to 3 years? And do you have any suggestions on how the city could meet or overcome these challenges or opportunities?
I think number one is balancing our growth, which is going to come while preserving livability. Every time we've had meetings here, either city or planning, people talk about livability, and there's no clear definition of livability. And people keep saying, well, they're not listening to us. So I think we have to balance the growth, and we're going to have growth in business as well as growth in residential. We've got the urban growth boundary going out in 3 different areas. I went to the Beaver Creek meeting a few weeks back, and people were yelling that they didn't get a chance or a voice in the whole decision. You know, and 15 years ago, that was me. I was in the city chambers yelling at the City Commission and planning until they asked me to calm down. People don't understand, and that I come from the background of, I've never been a politician. I come from the background of the people, and I listen to what they have to say, and yet I also have to explain to them, again, what I've said earlier, why we made the decision. So we've got the urban growth boundary with 3 different concept plans, and I've been involved in all 3 of them. Only 2 I voted for, obviously, and that's South End and Beaver Creek. And in the Beaver Creek, it's really important about the industrial. We've all talked about jobs in Oregon City. if we have all these homes, we need jobs here to keep them here rather than getting on the freeways to go downtown Portland. The other ones are, as I said, the industrial center, but the Rossman landfill. I know we've talked about the Willamette Falls Legacy project for years on Planning Commission as well as the City Commission, but Rossman landfill, I'd like to see something go forward there. And we need to build, but we need jobs, as has been said before, for the residents to go to.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So you mentioned that you were involved in all 3 concept plan processes, but you didn't vote for the one in your own neighborhood. How should we interpret that?
You can interpret it, that's a very wise decision, because I recuse myself when I know it's something that impacts me directly.
So recusal is different than, I guess I interpret it
Right, I
as
did not
you were.
vote no, because I recuse
Okay.
myself on several things that take place in Park Place. I live there. I've got a lot of residents there that we've all been involved with the concept plan for Park Place. I have been since 2004 or 5 when we first started the whole conversation on it before it was adopted in 2008. But I also learned by sitting up here on the Planning Commission that at any time you can be called out for the fact that you are personally involved with me. I had a residence 25 feet from where the road was going to be. I couldn't sleep with the road. So I recused myself. And that's important, I think, too. If you know that it's a conflict of interest, you need to know when to do that.
Thank you for clarifying.
How would you address the fact that the city commission sometimes makes unpopular decisions, and how would you relate to individuals whose opinion differs significantly from your own?
That's a mouthful and a handful, as you all know. Same thing on the Planning Commission, and you're going to hear this from other people. On the Planning Commission, there's so much, we fill that room just like you fill the room for decisions, and people don't understand. Number one is we make decisions that you make a decision as a group as we do on the Planning Commission. And a lot of those decisions are unpopular. And I've sat there in the chair where Rocky sits right now, and I've explained to people, we've got codes that we have to follow. If you don't like the codes, we need to come in and change some of those or request. But we have to follow what we have in front of us. It may not be popular, but if we, again, communicate, and sometimes we've brought up issues and people don't understand, I clarify for the public so they understand this is why we're doing this, or that those 3 code letters you hear, this is what this means, communications.
Commissioner Smith, you want to do 5?
We missed 3
We
too.
skipped 3.
You missed 3.
Yes.
What is your view of the overall economic health of Oregon City? And what do you think as a city we can do to promote economic development and overall business development, including assistance to existing businesses?
Okay. I have been to our retreat. I've heard what the great speeches and all that our city manager and everybody said, and our financial director, and we seem to be very stable. However, the more we grow, the more money we are going to need. And I think having the urban renewal is important to expand some of the growth opportunities in downtown as well as other areas, but also the more housing, the residential. As you all know, we're growing out in Park Place already. There's homes being built. I believe they're almost all sold. As we build out the concept plans, we're going to find more tax dollars coming in. So I think we'll be stable, and I think we're going to receive more dollars in to help with any other growth we have. The how we help the other businesses, there's a lot of businesses who you can't really help. I mean, they may maintain their own. I think what we need to do is build the industrial centers and do things where they build jobs for our future. And that includes the Rossman landfill, whatever we do there, as well as the industrial center. But a lot of the smaller businesses, Main Street is completely different than Molalla. And we're all have a different impact in the community. And now I'm finding that a lot of people come down, they're finding more about Main Street. So promoting our local businesses is really key for us. I said it before, we get more people from Westland, like Oswego, Molalla, Camp, because they're traveling the highway. We need our own citizens to come down, and we need to find ways to bring them downtown and shop here rather than getting on 213 and leaving our city.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll go to my question. Have you ever individually, as a member of an organization or as a representative of a neighborhood association, sued the city of Oregon City or the Oregon City Urban Renewal Agency?
Nope. I've never sued anybody.
Commissioner O'Donnell, you want to go ahead
Do my
with
question,
yours?
yeah. Mr. Guile, in the event that you are the successful candidate, what have you done to educate yourself to the critical issues facing the city and prepare yourself for the duties of the commissioner position?
Okay. Number one, it's the experience and knowledge I've had over the last 6, 9, 12, 13 some years, being involved as chair of the CIC and listening to the public there, still occasionally, not very often anymore, attending the CIC meetings, planning commission, attending some of these meetings, but also watching it on cable television. And if I can't make a meeting, I watch all the meetings and I watch how you all interact with each other. And preparing myself, I have attended the retreat. I know where we've been and where we're trying to go. As I suggested at that meeting, I would love to see I wouldn't call it a speech, but the communications that Tony did to all of you be public, right in the newspaper. I'd like to see the Oregon City News tell everybody all the positives that we do. All we hear is the negatives on the social media. There's so much positive out there. And that's why I started one social media page, was to get people to talk about the politics without getting into the negative, which often...
How's that worked out for you, Tom?
It didn't work out very well, no matter what social media you are. I mean, it's incredible, but people, I just keep going at it, talking about the local businesses out there whenever I can. But I think the question, I was forgetting about that after you asked about the social media. What was the last part of the question?
What you've done to educate yourself
Okay.
to critical issues and prepare yourself for the duties of this
Okay,
position.
and I pretty much answered that. It has
Yes, you
been
did.
watching, listening, participating whenever possible, and especially volunteering in several roles in the community.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, and then you've got number 5.
Okay. Can you tell us how you think your role may or may not change when it comes to that Oregon City Raw Facebook page if you were to become city commissioner?
Several times I've considered just shutting it down completely because it's not what it's supposed to be. Last week at the Planning Commission, we were talking about communications with Laura. I didn't even realize after all these years, and several people don't know, that we have our own email account. You want to be on Oregon City's email. I think if I'm going to continue that, and I'm not sure I want to, we need to publicize all the time in the meetings. Chit Chat doesn't always allow for you to publish when a meeting's happening or what's important for the city. If that Oregon City Raw cannot change back to the original intention of it, then it needs to go. I found out just this week about Oregon City Uncensored and all these other ones, and they're just pretty negative and a lot of uncomfortable kind of conversations. And that's why it started, but it's turning out to be something similar. So if it's got to go, it's going to go away.
Question, back to question 5. What are the strengths you would bring to the city commission?
I think the strengths are my code analysis, or that's not the correct wording. We've spent 3 or 4 months on the Planning Commission discussing the codes. Only 2 of the people who have applied for this position are set to just get right in with you and go forward with the codes. I'm one of those individuals. I've helped study them, we've voted on them, we've debated them, we passed them on to you. So being able to sit right up there and to start discussing the codes with you and sharing some of the information that I know about the codes. Communications, again, sitting, no matter where I sit, I'm trying to communicate to the public so they understand better. No matter what we say, and sometimes it's been said so many times during my 20 minutes here, people don't understand why we're making the decisions we do. So if one of you were to bring up something and I didn't completely understand it, or I felt the public was looking puzzled, I'd ask you to explain it for the public or those on the TV, because they're not here to understand. So I think my communications, that's my background is public relations and marketing, public speaking. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it when I'm here with a voice shaking. But being able to know what's been going on for the last 6 years with the Planning Commission has given me a great idea of what to do with serving with you.
Okay. And our last question is there anything else you would like to tell us about yourself, and do you have any questions of us?
I thought about this a lot. I knew this question might come up. And I know every one of you. I've talked with all of you. Some are friends and some are, we've disagreed on some things. But tonight, I'd like you to look at me as just Tom Guile with the experience that I've had and serving in the various capacities. Anything we've had to do on anything else, Ghost, Park Place, anything else, that's all side. Tonight, it's all about what I can bring to you with experience, with knowledge, with communications. And if it means helping our communications director here with some ideas that I have, I'd be glad to do that. But those are the skills I think you need to remember about me.
Any questions for us?
I think I know all of you and where we're heading with this city, so no.
All right. Thank you. And while we are ahead of schedule, our next two folks are not in the building apparently. So we will take a recess until, is it 7:05? Is that what?
That's when Mr. Guile was originally scheduled.
Oh.
We're like way ahead.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So yeah, we're gonna take a recess until 7:05 and hopefully the other folks will be here by then. Yeah, we're ahead of schedule, like I said. Okay. Reconvene the special session of the Oregon City Commission. And Mr. Edgar. So, tell us about yourself and some of your community activities, your experience with local government, community service, and why you wish to serve.
Well, first of all, thank you, Paul, for allowing me to have this opportunity.
And your name?
Paul Edgar.
Thank you.
Well, number one, I care. I care about the future of Oregon City, and I care about that we make smart decisions on a lot of fronts. I care about a lot of things, everything from historic preservation, the environment, transportation, and just being fiscally smart with our money and making critical decisions based upon weighted values, pragmatically. This is where if you have a good value structure, and all I can say is that what I've been able to do in my 56 years of marriage is to get 2 kids through a lot of college. I've been successful. I've accumulated significant wealth, and I have time. And I'm committed to Oregon City. And that's, a lot of people have not been able to achieve that. I have.
Commissioner Lyle Smith.
Okay. What do you see as the three most important issues facing Oregon City over the next 2 to 3 years? And do you have any suggestions for how the city could meet or overcome these challenges or opportunities?
Well, I think that is to handle appropriately the growth of the city and economic development and do it in a responsible manner is very important. I think that's one of the things that's just going to happen. I think that within those things, we have to have responsible understandings of the transportation implications and infrastructure. How do we provide all of the funding and the needed infrastructure to allow the city to expand in an appropriate manner and where we can afford it? And then look, some pet issues that I have that I'm involved with is figuring out the homeless issues, figuring out how we can create affordable housing, and come up with some opportunities that are that don't break the bank and all of the citizenry, but solve a problem. And I hope to be in a position where I can be able to do that. Thank you.
Cheryl?
So, sir, what is your view of the overall economic health of Oregon City? And what do you think that we as a city can do to promote economic development and overall business development, including assistance to existing businesses?
Well, I had a significant background in business. In my early life, the first 20 years was with NCR Corporation, and I was selling cash registers, and I had major corporate accounts in Oregon, including Fred Meyer and United Grocers and accounts like that. So I got to know, and one of my territory was Clackamas County. I know Clackamas County and I know Oregon City, and in the sense of also that I married into a family, long-term family of Oregon City, where my wife's grandfather was a superintendent of schools, and where the other grandfather worked at the mill, was actually started under Mr. Hawley at the paper mill. And so my house that I live in, an 1880 house, was actually funded and built as a result of the Hawley paper mill and all of the subsequent mill operations. But in business automation, my specialty, I called on corporate businesses and advised to them how to use automation to make more money and to advance themselves. So understanding the business community and economic development is a critical issue. And how do we do it? Well, we have a couple vehicles that we can do things. One of them has been urban renewal, and I've been on the Urban Renewal Commission in an earlier life here. Also, we have the ability to use the enterprise zones for economic development, like on the Hilltop. But one of the key things is outreach, understanding how to go out to clients and find clients and try to really reach into who they are and what they are. I've been putting together a proposal right now with one client, possibly to open up a business on the Hilltop just to make manufactured homes. I'm doing this not whether I get a position or not, but we see manufactured homes as an opportunity to create affordable housing where we can put those onto lots and create housing at a model that would be under $100,000, where somebody could buy a house, a lot, and not have to worry about somebody putting a gun to their head with space rent. And so these are opportunities we're hoping that we could achieve, but that can be also working houses, where we need places where people can afford to live and then work. And we have those opportunities, and you need somebody with vision. I come just because I spent 3 years in a think tank in advanced systems and product development, doing long-term planning. So I have knowledge in how to think out 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, because that was my job.
Okay.
That's okay. No, sorry.
Commissioner Smith? Excuse me. How would you address the fact that the City Commission sometimes makes unpopular decisions, and how would you relate to individuals whose opinions differ significantly from your own?
Not that I've ever had an opinion, or not that it's ever been challenging. But one thing is you do is you don't shy away from making the hard decisions, because that's the reason why you're doing it. But you do it based upon a value structure. And you explain to people why these values come along. So I've had moments in my life when I've been in a position where you're kind of counting up the values you place on each point that you think is important in the decision making. And all of a sudden you come through and you have the pluses and the minuses and you add them all up, and maybe one comes to 51-49. Personally, when you're making you're trying to arrive at a decision, but when you explain to people why you're doing it and how you think, sometimes the decisions or the differences go away, because they respect you as a thinking person that has values. You've explained it to them, and they say, okay, now I see your position and why you chose to do it that way, because you have a value structure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lyle Smith.
What are the strengths you bring to the city commission?
Excuse me?
What are the strengths you would bring to the city commission?
Well, I'm a pragmatist that has been in high-tech R&D. And when you're in high-tech R&D, one of the things you do is you're looking at new items and new things and new visions. And it's just who I am. I think that I'm not locked down on some single issue or some single process. I look at the big picture to try to determine what is right and what is best. And I think that type of thinking, where you can communicate it back and forth and with everyone, is a value. Because it's like I respect all of you, and I respect your opinions. And so it's like when you're getting into the discussions in a conversation of saying, what should we do? You're trying to share. And this is what I think I can do, is help, not to be anything more than just an intelligent backbone of somebody that you can say, okay, what does he think? Why does he think that way? And and I'm not afraid to offer my opinions.
Okay. Have you ever individually, as a member of an organization or as a representative of a neighborhood association, sued the City of Oregon City or the Oregon City Urban Renewal Agency?
And I have taken on the city, and the reason why, I'll give you a couple examples, and it's because my values are of a high line. I sit on, as an example, on the Clackamas County Historic Review Board. I'm a preservationist. I understand historic preservation. I understand land use. I probably have attended more land use meetings as a citizen than anyone. Okay, not because I'm paid or not because I'm sitting there, because you have to know what's right. So as an example, I participated on one of the lawsuits was on the comprehensive plan, Beaver Creek concept plan, excuse me. And the reason why I did is because I felt, as somebody who has been a semi-transportation professional, I sat on the Clackamas County Transportation Advisory Committee. I knew that the transportation considerations and the infrastructure considerations of the South End concept plan, or excuse me, the Beaver Creek concept plan, didn't pencil out. I went through all of the incidents of travel. I looked at what it was, and I said, okay, what we're doing is we're putting together a concept plan that is incomplete. It's not that it shouldn't be done, but it's incomplete. And I had reasons in my heart and my soul that told me that it wasn't right, and it should have been adjusted. We are playing patsy a little bit to the ODOT, to Clackamas County and a lot of people. When we have approximately 70% of the trips going through the Beaver Creek and 213 intersection, and they don't start or originate or end in Oregon City. We need to be aggressive about how we solve that transportation issue. And the long-term transportation plan for that intersection was to put up an overpass and Beaver Creek would go underneath it. And the monies are around and are there. We could have that. And I felt like that it was worth the effort to be able to solve this and not just push it down, kick the can down the road. Because the eventualities are that if we don't solve that, it's gonna cost us a hell of a lot of more money later. And so these are some of the things that you have to have a backbone. Also on Kenema, I've been very concerned when we took cottage home development and put houses 5 feet apart, stacked them in, took and moved 40,000 yards of soil, leveling and recontouring a parcel, cut into a wetland, did not leave any, there's called a vegetative corridor with a wetland. They were in there digging out black soil right next to the wetland, and they had a tarp over it, and I'm looking down there and I see animals moving around underneath the tarp. And I saw that with my own eyes, and I know that it's wrong. It's environmentally wrong. It was historically wrong. And so if somebody doesn't have it's not just guts, but the ability to know right from wrong, core, in your gut, who you are, what is right from wrong. And when I know something and my core tells me something is wrong, should I sit back and just let people kick the can down the road? I'm willing to put up, in that case, I put up my own money, Dan. I put up my money because in my heart, I knew I was right. And I was doing things which were what I thought were right for the city, for my neighborhood, and in the fact for my family that's had a house in Kenema since 1880.
Yet, the Planning Commission, the Historic Review Board, and the City Commission all approved that development.
No,
So we're all wrong and you're right, is that?
No, I'm just saying, the Planning Commission did not. Only the Historic Review Board and yes, you guys, and I had hoped that I would have had a chance to really more adequately explain the positions and the reasons, but we were given 3 minutes. And so in 3 minutes to try to explain something that is that dire, but the proof of the pudding is to go down and see what's happens right now. Because what is happening right now, where they cut down into one bank and it's over 18 feet cut into a bank. And when you take a look at what the cut is, and you say, oh my God, was that allowed to happen? Well, it did, and it is happening, and somebody had to have the ability to call a spade a spade.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner O'Donnell?
In the event that you are the successful candidate, what have you done to educate yourself to critical issues facing the city and to prepare yourself for the duties of the commissioner position?
Well, first of all, a lot of years ago, 8.5 years ago, Dan Holliday sat in my front yard, interviewed me when I ran for mayor. And at that time, I ended up getting close to 40% of the vote, right in that range, against 3 candidates. But I was prepared in thinking about issues and responsibilities and things that should be done from that time on. And I have been doing it. I'm vested into Oregon City. So this is not something Johnny come lately or somebody that's not been around or concerned. I've tried to be on the Transportation Committee, but even though I got voted by the members to be on it, that was overridden. I've been wanted to be on the Planning Commission to help. I put myself onto it, but I wasn't even interviewed for that. What what I would just turn around and tell you, I attend the meetings. I voice the opinions. I try to, I was on the McLaughlin Kanema Trail Committee and you know, spent time with an effort to try to improve safety, understand the right way to get in and out of Kanema and back and forth, and how to design a trail. And I've been on those committees like that. So you know, and I've been going to the Planning Commission meetings and reviewing all of the issues that are coming before the commission right now. And one of the things that's important to me is trying to figure out, how do we save neighborhoods? How do we do things in a manner that does not destroy a neighborhood in the intact communities? And you have to have it in your heart to understand, and you have to care. And I'm just, or I wouldn't even be here if I didn't care. And I wouldn't be making the statements that I'm making. Maybe they're challenging to someone, but I'll make them because that's who I am. I'm honest.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you. Is there anything else you would like to tell us about yourself? And then also, do you have any questions of us?
Well, the only thing I could turn around and tell you is that through this life, I've had a lot of capacities, and so I've served in the United States Army. I served overseas. And when breaks come along or something happens, somebody says, well, you're lucky. Well, sometimes you make your own luck. Sometimes because you work harder, you apply yourself to see the things that I've done. I took and rebuilt an 1880 house, lifted, that was originally built on logs, lifted it up, put a new foundation under it, restored it, did everything appropriately. And somebody says, well, why did you put $50,000 worth of new glass in it? Well, it's all perfectly historical, and it's wood, and that was what was appropriate. Okay, if you want to save a historic district, you don't degrade it. You make it compatible. And so I just know, I know you all, most of you know me. The big question, all I can turn around and tell you is that I will be honest, and I will be pragmatic, and I won't be off on doing it something for somebody. I'll be doing it for the citizens of Oregon City, doing what's right and what's responsible. And I will have an eye on the future, because my hope is that our house is passed down to the next generation. When someone from the family steps up, I want it to be, they say that Grandpa or Paul did it right, and was responsible. So that's who I am. And I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Pierce?
Right up.
Come on down, you're the next contestant. So tell us about yourself and some of your community activities, your experience with local government and community service, and why you wish to serve. And start with your name, please.
My name is Jay Pierce, M.J. Pierce, Marvin J. Pierce, but I don't go by Marvin, that was my dad. So I go by Jay, and I'm the third, so Grandpa was June. And my son is the fourth. And I told him when he got married and when he had his first son, I said, you are under no obligation to name anybody the fifth of anything. So he preserved it with Michael J., the same initials. Anyway, that's part of who I am. I'll talk later about my children, but I am about a 7-year resident of Oregon City now. I've been in Portland prior to that for 40 years, more than 40 years. And I've come to Clackamas County for very specific reasons, and many of them are up there on that wall. The goals of the city commission are the same goals that I have, and I've always been a proactive participant in both my neighborhood, my community. I volunteer. I was one of the charter members of the Homeless Coalition here in Oregon City, and we've done some pretty good things over the last couple of years, but I think there's a lot of work still left to be done there, and that's taken up a lot of my thinking and participation in the last couple of years. I attended hearings. I'm participating in the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association. That's where a lot of my civic activity has always been centered, is in my neighborhood. And when I was in Portland, I was very active in the Sullivan's Gulch neighborhood and the Laurelhurst Neighborhood Association, and felt that I contributed that way. And the participation that I am volunteering for here in Oregon City is based on the excitement my whole family feels about what's going on here. And I mean, everything from the south end to the north end to the hilltop, and all the decisions you are going to have to make over the next couple of years regarding development in that area. I've attended hearings. My initial involvement with the city commission was supporting as a neighborhood resident, supporting the construction of the rehab center up there on the Providence property. And that was fairly contentious, but I think that if anything, what I bring to the table, and I think a question is coming later about what do I think I'm going to contribute. I'm a pretty much centrist kind of guy. I'm not very political. I'm fairly well educated. I've got a lot of experience in business and civic life, so to speak. And I try to bring to bear a position that takes into account, and I think Paul brought this up too, that it takes into account a wide range of positions that I saw it when the Waterboard Park issue was being discussed, and I saw it when the rehab facility was being discussed, and I participated in all of those. As a citizen, I commented on those projects, but I didn't expect to steer anything. I wanted to give my opinion, and I think as a whole, the Oregon City Commission over the past decade is to be commended that they've moved the city in the direction they've moved it in, and I just want to participate in that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Commissioner Lyle Smith.
What do you see as the 3 most important issues facing Oregon City over the next 2 to 3 years? And do you have any suggestions for how the city could meet or overcome these challenges or opportunities?
Well, the biggest issue is development, in my view, and making sure we follow through on all of the work that's been done for the Heritage Project and the North End being developed, and decisions that are going to have to be made to accommodate the downtown development we want to see. I'm really concerned about downtown. I live right downtown. I'm down here on Washington Street. I've restored a property there that I think contributes to the neighborhood. My efforts have not gone unnoticed. I got an award from Mayor Holliday a few years back in 2015, I think it was, for the restoration that we did on the Babcock House. And appreciated that. That was totally unexpected because that's just what I do. Kind of like Paul, I'm a preservationist. I see the value in things, and I try to maximize that. So that's one area, the development of the city. I am also participating in the Homeless Coalition, and unless we have livability on our city streets, we're not going to be the kind of city that I think we can be. When I describe to friends what's going on in Oregon City, I say we are a destination. We're going to become a destination just like we were in 1860 and 1865. We're going to be a destination for people who want to come here, experience that history, and take advantage of all of the new stuff we're going to put together here in the downtown area and elsewhere. So that's the next big issue is the homeless and the street population and what to do about it. It's not something we're going to resolve here in Oregon City. That's become patently clear from my work on the Homeless Coalition. It's a nationwide systemic problem. I have my opinions about how to resolve that problem. One of the biggest glaring elephants in the 800-pound gorilla, or whatever you want to call it, the elephant in the room, is mental health. Conservancy laws were abandoned 50 years ago because our state hospitals were abandoned or discontinued because, frankly, they'd become hellholes. And there are, I think, lessons to be learned from that. I think, again, I'm interested in history, and certainly there's no more historical place that you could take on than this place. And where we are now is trying to reveal that history to a much, much wider audience and economically benefit from that. So that would be the second thing that I would look at, would be livability. And the third area that I would think would be of most concern to everyone is how we are viewing ourselves as I don't know how to put it quite, but as concerned citizens. I want to see more of this involvement of the citizenry, to have a volunteer city commission and city management, having a city manager system. I've seen it work in other situations, in other areas, and in some places it does not work well. But this balance between the voting commission and the managing businessman at the helm over here is a very important relationship, and one that I think needs to be respected and enhanced, if you will. So that's kind of the third area. I'd like to see the structural side of things maintained, as it's obviously working. We're doing well here, in my view, and we need to continue that.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
So, Mr. Pierce, what is your view of the overall economic health of Oregon City? And what do you think that we as a city can do to promote economic development and overall business development, including assistance to existing businesses?
Well, I guess I jumped into that as part of my previous discussion, but I do see that the economic health of Oregon City has, it's got some promise. I think that's the way I would phrase it right now. I don't think we're where we want to be. I think there's a lot of ground to be covered before we can take advantage of, for instance, the South End and all that represents. The North End development, as each one of the top of the hill, each area has its own set of problems and its own set of opportunities for economic development. But I see it as a number one priority, because as that economic development takes place, it provides the base for everything else we're going to do. And from a business standpoint, I'm a revenue kind of guy. I mean, not necessarily, I'm not expecting to get paid for what we're doing here, but the income side of the ledger has to be paid attention to if we're going to do any of the very noble things that we want to do with this town, including making it the destination I was talking about, as well as solving the infrastructure problems that we do have with our various populations that need some attention and deserve our attention. That takes money, and so I see that as the number one priority, is economic development and very judicious management of the ensuing resources, the money that we have to deal with.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Smith?
How would you address the fact that the city commission sometimes makes unpopular decisions, and how would you relate to individuals whose opinions differ significantly from your own?
Well, I've kind of already run into that. Some of the relationships that I have to some of the organizations that I regularly participate in. I won't name names here, but I think I mentioned in my opening statement that I'm not a particularly political guy. And by that I mean, I believe in the principles that we as a nation really were founded on, which is everything is structured to be centrist. Everything is structured not to let the needle hit the pegs on any given issue, but to try to come up with a solution that satisfies the broadest segment of the population and the broadest needs of the community. And how that occurs on an individual project to project basis, it just takes homework. And I'm dedicated to homework. I'm still a working man. I get to that in a minute, talking about myself, I guess, but I still participate in the job force, and I understand the need for a balanced approach to everything. And if I had to describe my own preference for how things go, I think it would be balance. I've recognized in a lot of situations people who have significantly different opinions than I do, and voice them quite vociferously and try to persuade. But again, I'm not going to name names, but those people are my friends, you know, and they still are my friends. And I think that's the way we can conduct ourselves at this level, is to maintain a civil relationship with each other and recognize the differences that do exist.
Okay. Have you ever individually, as a member of an organization or as a representative of a neighborhood association sued the City of Oregon City or the Oregon City Urban Renewal Agency?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not. I was involved in the discussions at the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association regarding this water board issue. I didn't voice much of an opinion there. I just kind of observed the ongoing legal ramifications. I've formed my own opinions about it. I could share them here, but no, I've not been neither involved nor have I promoted any legal action.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Mr. Pierce, you've pretty much answered this in your previous input, but I'm going to ask it so that you can elaborate if you wish. In the event that you are the successful candidate, what have you done to educate yourself to the critical issues facing the city and prepare yourself for the duties of the commissioner position?
Well, as I mentioned before, I participated, and I participated in a meaningful way, I believe, in a lot of the debates that have occurred. I volunteered some amount of time in the Heritage Project and have participated in a lot of the activities there, and I'm deeply involved in the Homeless Coalition. Those are my two major activities, but I also follow the news of the city quite closely and try to form an opinion based on gathering as much of the fact as I can.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Lyle-Smith, you would take 5.
Yep. What are the strengths you would bring to the city commission?
Well, I'm a father of 5, and I've got the last one in college down at Oregon State as we speak. So that's the reason for my participation in the workforce at my age. I was retired. Actually, I founded a couple of companies here in Oregon. I founded a medical electronics company called Protocol Systems, still in existence, a piece of equipment that I will take credit for inventing, is used worldwide in emergency transport, vital signs monitoring. It's been my medical devices and software has been my career for over 40 years. And that business experience, I'm an entrepreneur. I started those businesses with not much money, a knack for raising money, a knack for understanding engineering issues, a knack for working with people. It's a people business, and business is people. And I grew that business. It went public, and after being public for about 3 years, it was bought private by a large medical device combine called Welch Allen. I don't know if any of you know who Welch Allen is, but Welch Allen now still manufactures and distributes that product that I invented. I'm proud of that. And if any of you have ever been involved in that kind of entrepreneurial activity, I think you understand that 24/7, 365 day a year, 18-hour a day commitment that involves, and that's one of my strengths. I have perseverance, and I also feel that my education, I was accepted and got scholarship to Cornell University, and so I went there on a scholarship and worked my way through school, and I didn't have, our family was very middle of the road, and I got through that experience with what I think was an education that's allowed me to do what I do today and to be what I am. And I'd like to put that to greater use because I've got a lot more experience in what it takes to make the engine run, so to speak. And that's, I think that's my greatest strength is my ability to think through a problem.
So let me ask a follow-up to Commissioner O'Donnell's question. If you were to get the appointment, would it be your intention to run for election at the next general election?
Well, I thought about that. I'm focused right now on just what can I do in the next couple of years. I know Nancy Hyde. She and I worked together for quite some time on the Homeless Coalition, and I feel that those are shoes that need filling. And so that's what my focus has been, to carry out what I know was her good work. I'm not a political guy. I don't know whether I want to be put through the ringer that all of you have been put through.
All right, that's good enough.
I'll wait and see. How is that for an answer?
Commissioner Smith?
Is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about yourself? And do you have any questions for us?
Just that, I really love being in this city. I really love the property on Washington Street is where I'm going to be carried out of boots first. And so I've been in the position to own and restore homes all the time I've lived in Oregon, and I've done it 4 or 5 times. When my wife and I saw this property down here, we said, well, this will be our final stand, our pièce de résistance, whatever you want to call it. And the ability to participate in this community and see what potential it has, and to bring that love that I have for where I am in life, and a very happy 35-year marriage. I have 5 children that are all very successful, and my youngest daughter is a marine biologist down at Oregon State, and my son's graduating in May from St. Louis University in aeronautical engineering. Those are my 2 youngest, and my oldest son is a West Point graduate and head of a device company, an engineering company back in Boston area. My oldest daughter is a doctor. My middle daughter is a marketing executive in Bend. So, I just couldn't ask for anything more than to be here now and doing what I'm doing. And that motivation carries over to what I'd like to see Oregon City do. My question is, and I think I've asked this, I think I asked you, Dan, on one occasion, how much time is involved in this? And the answer came back that
a lot.
But I'm, like I said, I'm homework oriented. But the fact that you do most of your official business in the evenings makes a big difference for me, because I am at the very tail end of my career, but I am with Providence, and I do put in a full hour, 80 to 40-hour week. And so I just want to make sure that that would be adequate for you. Is that adequate enough to?
I think Commissioner Lyle Smith could answer better than anyone else.
Yeah, I work for state government, in Salem.
Okay.
So I commute and put in 40 hours a week. You know, I would say, you know, what was one of the lines told to me? There's more to do than you can possibly do. So, you know, I think the challenge is finding balance between your life and all of the things that need to be done. And there's a lot of things where you want to contribute, but, you know, you just can't possibly attend everything that comes across your plate. So there's more than you can possibly
Drinking from a fire hose.
do.
Right.
Yeah, so you kind of have to decide, but I mean, at a minimum, you know, ideally, I mean, you show up prepared, and how long does it take you to review all the materials? And, you know, I think we all have a different amount of time that we spend. Some are more interested in all the nitty-gritty details, and some don't necessarily need to get to that level. And, you know, and so only you can decide your comfort level and the information that's given to you so that you feel comfortable making decisions. So,
Well, I understand that, and as I said, as long as the official duties take place after 5 o'clock in the evening, I'm okay, because the rest of the work I would expect to put in. I said I'm pretty good at homework. And,
I can tell you I spend several hours throughout the week in the evenings, and then I spend time on the weekends also reviewing
Kind of what I
materials and
expected.
preparing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is a continual second job.
It is a step up to the plate kind of a decision, and I understand that.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Pierce.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
And the last contestant of the evening is Mike Mitchell. So you've heard some of the others. So tell us about yourself, some of your community activities, your experience with local government and community service, and why you wish to serve. Start with your name, please.
Y'all really need to hear this again, right?
Yeah, we do.
My name is Mike Mitchell. My wife Karen and I have lived in Oregon City since 2007. I started getting involved in city government in small ways just a short time after I moved here, first with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. I've served on that committee. I've served on the Transportation Advisory Committee. I've served on the Civic Involvement Committee, Citizen Involvement Committee, excuse me. The Urban Renewal Commission, and I'm also on the board of the Downtown Oregon City Association. And I think I'm excited about doing this because I think we're at such a great spot in our city with everything that we've done, what we've accomplished over the last 10 or 11 years since I've been here, and yet with these major opportunities that we've got on the horizon, I think it's just a great time to be in Oregon City and a great time to be involved. So that's why I want to do it.
Commissioner Lyle Smith.
Okay. What do you see as the 3 most important issues facing Oregon City over the next 2 to 3 years? And do you have any suggestions for how the city could meet or overcome these challenges or opportunities?
I think the first challenge that we have, and these are both opportunities and threats. If you think about the major projects that we have on the horizon, whether it be the Willamette Falls project or reinventing the courthouse downtown or the Beaver Creek industrial lands or what's going to happen at the landfill and the Cove, I can't think of other cities that have one of that kind of a major opportunity on the horizon, and we have all of those. But with all of those comes a threat, because if we goof up and don't do them right, you know, we have to realize that those are going to set those projects and others that I'm not thinking of right at the moment are really going to set the future path of our city. And so we need to be able to do them right. And we need to do them in a way that benefits not just the current residents of Oregon City, but as well people that will want to move here in the future.
Okay, I can follow up.
Sure, certainly.
Do you think we're doing the Cove right?
From what I've seen so far, yes. Is it perfect? No. But phase 2A and B really haven't been fleshed out other than kind of up to ground level. So what I've seen so far, yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
On this one.
3.
So, Mr. Mitchell, what is your view of the overall economic health of Oregon City? And what do you think we as a city can do to promote economic development and overall business development, including assistance to existing businesses?
I think we're on a good path, but I think we're also in transition, like the U.S. economy is. You know, over the last few years, we've lost a couple of large employers between the mill and General Distributing, just right off the top of my head. And those kind of businesses, that size of employer, is going to be pretty hard to attract. But at the same time, I think we've done a good job of getting smaller, high-tech, forward-looking businesses like Orchid Technologies and Funnelbox downtown, transitioning into what Oregon City, from what it was as a mill town to what it can be as an information-driven, high-tech, computer-driven type manufacturing, like what they're doing at the new Industrial Tech Center at Clackamas Community College. The combination of that and the industrial lands right across the street and Clackamas Community College and the high school right there, we just got a tremendous opportunity to kind of reinvent, but we're on a good path. The numbers over the last few years of people that live in Oregon City that work in Oregon City is declining, but we can turn that around. We need to turn that around so that people that live here can work here. And there was another part to your question, I think. Maybe there wasn't.
Assistance to existing businesses, I think.
Yeah, and working on the Downtown Oregon City Association Board, that is a key, that is a key thing. I think we need to work more with local businesses to, obviously it's easier and it's easier to assist a current business to expand than it is to attract a new business, easier and cheaper. So we need to find out, what are we doing? What can we do to help? How can we help you promote your business? And in a lot of ways, that really is the city's, I think the city's main purpose is to promote, be a bully pulpit, help attract new qualified employees to the area so that our local businesses can grow.
I'll ask a follow-up question. Financially, what do you see the city's future relationship to be with Downtown Oregon City Association?
I had the same question, or just what your thoughts are about moving forward with downtown.
I think that, first off, I think that we need to make sure that our definition of downtown is broad enough. Downtown's going to grow on us both directions, and it needs to grow up into the Midtown area as well, right around here. I think that the Downtown Oregon City Association has done great things. I think they leverage the city's investment to a very great degree, more so, I'm convinced, more so than any other organization that you support. I do agree with some of the discussion that is taking part that we need to formalize that relationship a little more. We need to make sure that there's clear expectations and that there are going to be deliverables from what DOCA does that directly benefit the citizens of Oregon City.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith, this one's yours.
How would you address the fact that the city commission sometimes makes unpopular decisions? And how would you relate to individuals whose opinions differ significantly from your own?
I think you would be foolish to even consider getting involved in this if you didn't know that some people every night are going to leave disappointed, mad, angry, furious, pick a number on the scale. It's just a fact. If it wasn't, we wouldn't need a city commission, you know, if it was obvious. I think the thing that has served me best over the years working, whether it's in terms of explaining a decision that I might have made in business that was not popular, or in a training situation is why. Make sure people understand why the decision was the way it was. Why sometimes when it does appear unpopular to people, why it has to be the way it is. And I think that if public opinion has been thoroughly listened to and considered and can't be agreed with, I think it's just highly important that people feel like they've been listened to, whether or not they're able to be agreed with.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll go with my question. Have you ever individually, as a member of an organization or as a representative of a neighborhood association, I don't know how I have a problem with that word tonight, association, sued the city of Oregon City or the Oregon City Urban Renewal Agency?
No.
Okay. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Well, in the event that you are the successful candidate, what have you done to educate yourself to the critical issues facing the city and prepare yourself for the duties of the commissioner position?
Well, as I mentioned, I started getting involved many years ago, and I've been following city government. I obviously ramped that up to full speed last summer when I decided to file for the commission. And I feel that I am fully up to speed. When I heard about this opening, I've either attended or listened to every meeting, every city commission meeting since I first heard about the opening. I attended both days of the retreat that you held, as did Mr. Guile. I'll give Mr. Guile credit, well-deserved on that. And I do feel that I'm fully up to speed. I have my notes on all the items on the code revisions that you still have yet to decide. Because really this appointment is hardly more than a year and a half. So somebody has to be full speed ahead on night one. And I feel like I've taken those steps so that I could be.
So just as a follow-up to make sure that, because people outside in TV land are watching this as well, I think you neglected to mention one board that you sit on.
Yes.
The Planning Commission?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. And can I talk about that just for a second?
Sure.
The timing of this opening, I realize some people, the timing's unfortunate. Because it could appear that I'm running away, dumping the Planning Commission because something better came along. The chronology, however, I was interested in serving on the City Commission long before the idea of the Planning Commission came up. I filed for the City Commission position on the first day that it became available last summer. So that was my first interest. When the Planning Commission opening came along and I saw that the deadline was before the election, I decided to file for the Planning Commission. And Commissioner Lyle Smith can back me up on that because I suggested to her that she do the same thing. so that whichever one of us was not successful in the getting the commission seat could serve on the Planning Commission. So that interest came before this. It's unfortunate the timing is the way it is. My crystal ball wasn't good enough, and if I had known that this was going to come up so soon, I wouldn't have applied for the Planning Commission.
I think I have a follow-up question.
I might too.
So, Mr. Mitchell, how would you compare your ability to make a contribution to this community, either in your current position as Planning Commission Chair versus why would you pursue this position versus that position?
Well, two reasons. First, this body really sets the direction of the city in all ways, not just in planning. And I think that there are a lot of aspects to some of those developments that I talked about that go beyond the brick and mortar. It goes to the goal of what our city wants out of some of those projects, and not just setbacks and lot coverage and so forth. So I think that what this body does is obviously is setting the tone for the city more so than the Planning Commission. And I had another point I was going to make, but it just I guess the other thing I would say is that most of the important decisions of the planning commission seem to find their way to this body anyway. So.
Okay, Commissioner Smith, you got, Commissioner Lyle Smith, question 5.
What are the strengths you would bring to the city commission?
I think I have an ability to listen to opinions and formulate, I shouldn't say, not to formulate my opinion, but to use different people's inputs and opinions and arrive at a consensus decision. I think I'm a good consensus builder. I think I'm a good listener. The best successes that I've had over the years in business were when I was really truly a team with the people that I reported to and the people that reported to me. And I think that's a skill of mine, to pick out the good ideas that everybody has and formulate those as a part of my decision making. I think that's probably number one strength.
Commissioner Smith?
8.
9.
9. Is there anything else you would like to tell us about yourself? And do you have any questions for us?
No, I think the only thing I would add, I guess, is I believe I have shown a commitment to this position by the fact that I was willing to go through the time and effort and agony of a campaign, and there are at least 4,000 people or so out there that wanted to see me on the commission. And not to say, I'm not bringing that up that I, get bonus points or something, but I think it does speak to the commitment that I have to do that, how much thought that I have given to the commitment that's involved, the time that's involved, whether or not I could handle that. I am, as of 2 days ago, officially retired now, so I do have the time to do it.
You guys, man.
Hey, I've worked a lot of years. Come on now. No, I understand that the decision is going to be made tomorrow evening. Is that correct?
We don't know that.
We don't know that.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Okay.
Could be.
Might be.
Okay. No, I don't think I have any other questions.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else to go to the order? And we will adjourn until tomorrow night.
Okay.